So now we have the book that has come out. And I thought this was the case, was going to be the case all along. This book, Original Sin, which is now I'm being told it's sold out and everyone's buying copies. I'm not buying a copy. Clay.
I may buy a copy.
Clay.
Damn
it, Clay. Damn it, Clay.
I want to read it because I want to know if there is. I want to be able to speak on it as in depth as I possibly can.
All right, well,
I respect that you don't want to read it and don't want to buy it.
I will take your dog-eared copy from you in DC. Okay, so
Laura was very unhappy that I said I was going to buy it. She was very angry about it. My wife.
She knows.
But I have not bought it yet. But I'm going to be I've got a car ride up to the Indy 500 this weekend, and I figure maybe I can read along for part of that ride. I need a new book.
Okay. Well,
so sorry. I apologize to everyone for forsaking you.
Notwithstanding, I do not recommend you buy it. But here's what I think is so interesting going on right now. It's exactly as we thought. Just, everything. We see all this coming and they still do it. They still say it. So I think there's something to that, right? And one of the realities is they're going with oh my gosh, Biden was just so cagey and we're just so dumb that we couldn't figure out what all of the rest of you it's one thing to say we knew, but we were quiet about it. We were talking about this every day. This was a sky is blue phenomenon. We're saying, hey guys, the sky is blue. And then, months and months and months of Biden. And then sure enough, they're like, wait a second. Are you saying that we know what color the sky is? These people are shameless. And the most shameless of all may, in fact, be, well, I don't know, Tapper or Scarborough. This was an This was an information operation. This was propaganda. This was an active choice made to just pretend like nothing was going on here, right? We were talking to them. We knew they could hear us, but they just gave us the silent treatment on this, right? That's what was going on. And Tapper goes on Scarborough's show. I need you to hear this because, Clay, I'm almost impressed with the chutzpah. I'm almost impressed with the gall to try this one on for size for everybody. And it is that there was a special campaign from the White House just to fool good old Joe Scarborough. Play it.
Our reporting indicates that Joe Biden, who, as you know, is a frequent viewer of the show, saw when David Ignatius wrote that column in, I think, August 2023, saying that Joe Biden should not run for re-election because of what he had been hearing.
Right.
And he came on this show, and you guys had a robust conversation about this. You largely agreed that you'd been hearing things about this, but that there was really no alternative, that Kamala Harris was not up to the job. That's what Democrats were telling you behind the scenes. Joe Biden saw that. Joe Biden said to staffers that he wanted to convince you that you were wrong. And he focused on you like you were a constituency, like you were farmers in Iowa, like you were the Kiwanis Club in New Hampshire. And he made sure that you thought differently.
Clay, come on now. This to me seems very clear. He's got Tapper is going around like the Pope of liberalism and giving people absolution. Like, do you know, Joe, that there was a special, you who said the dumbest thing maybe ever spoken on cable news, which you and I know, Clay, that is something, right? Maybe the dumbest thing ever said, oh, but the White House was running a campaign to fool you.
Yeah, this ties in. First of all, I don't think that if that were true, the campaign would even need to be that effective because Joe Scarborough wanted to say that Biden was perfectly fine. So he was predisposed to buy into all of this claptrap. But I think it's much bigger, and I think this is important. Yesterday, the Washington Post, and I'm looking at it right now, had an editorial up. Did you see this? If Biden was too frail for his job, voters should have been informed. This is the Washington Post editorial board take. Gee, who might have a job that is designed to tell voters what people in positions of power might need to know that those in positions of power might not want them to know. The free press! It's literally the only reason they exist, Buck. But this is important. And I think it's so important, and I think many people still haven't realized it. This isn't a flaw. It's the system that has been designed. And in particular, I've made this argument before. I don't think a lot of people have realized it. Back in the day when the Washington Post took down Richard Nixon over Watergate, and when they frankly tried to take down Bill Clinton over Monica Lewinsky, do you know how they made money? Advertising. The more people who bought their newspaper and saw the ads, the higher the circulation, the more money they made. And so there wasn't an incentive to try to do the biggest, boldest, brashest, maybe sometimes riskiest, Pentagon Papers story, because more people then paid attention to your newspaper.
I disagree
which made you
a
more
little bit
money.
in the Clinton era, Clay, because the Drudge Report came to national prominence because it was the Drudge Report, not the Washington Post, that broke the Monica story, because the Beltway press was defending Clinton because they've always been playing political games like this.
But I can tell you, reading the Clinton coverage, they went after him pretty hard. But regardless, the story is advertising. What I believe has not been talked about enough for the New York Times and for the Washington Post, subscription models digitally, which is basically what these businesses are no longer in the business of actually telling people news and aggregating the biggest possible audience. They're now in the business of serving fans. And what New York Times subscribers and Washington Post subscribers are like fan bases that subscribe to online sports message boards. They never break negative news because
this
they
is
lose
true,
business.
Clay. Yeah, this is true, Clay. I would also add, though, that the whole business of news, as everyone's carrying around essentially what would have been a supercomputer like 30 years ago, it's completely changed, right? I mean, what did CNN give you that you couldn't get before in the 90s? You could turn on news, right? It wasn't really an option. And now we've got countless websites, we've got Twitter, we've got citizen journalists, so having information flow is no longer the value proposition, certainly than it was in the Watergate era, but even than it was, I think, in the 90s, added to what you're talking about, which is the balkanization of audience and the fan fiction stuff, is how we've gotten that. I mean, the New York Times editorial board is insane. I mean, these people live in an alternate universe, and Jake Tapper coming forward now, Clay, it's like there's a revelation and he's sharing this with all of us as if we didn't know. The part of this that he and his buddies are skipping over is we all knew. We said it every day, right? This is not, there's no revelation.
But this is also where a lot of those people have no idea what we say on the program. And this goes to the balkanization. This is why I asked you, I think it was yesterday or the day before.
Look at Tapper, what he did to Laura Trump, though. There were efforts to try to get this to cross over, and people like Tapper shut it down.
Oh, I agree. What I'm saying is they will, and this is what I spend a huge amount of my time thinking about now. I'm on the media nerd side. When you really look at the balkanization, we know, every one of you watching and/or listening to us right now, we told you yesterday, as soon as Trump had that Oval Office event, we knew exactly what the New York Times would say about it. We knew what CNN would say about it. We told you before they even said it. We are aware on this program, and most of you are too, you are steeped in the arguments of the left. You consider what they say, and you adjust your arguments to make better arguments as a result. They have no idea what we say. Whatever percentage of the audience that is dyed-in-the-wool MSNBC fan, that is, if to the extent Jake Tapper has fans, those people are not subject to most of the arguments that we make here every day. Now, there's a ton of you out there listening to us right now who found us partly because of new media, because you saw a video get shared. This is why I don't mind getting attacked. Because when you get attacked by the left, it actually exposes your arguments to the left. And maybe 75% of people are like, that guy's a moron, I hate him. 25% are like, oh, that's an interesting argument. It gets into the question of how many people are persuadable. And this is why I was asking the question. If you were a rational, reasonable adult capable of logic and contemplation, if you had been watching MSNBC and only reading the New York Times, you might have bought into the idea that Joe Biden was not mentally and physically deficient. Everybody listening to this program has known it for years. So you're right.
I don't think anyone really bought it. That's my whole. I think this is the whole thing's another op. I think everybody knew. I think everybody was aware. And now I think everybody was pretending they weren't aware because of the implications of what that would be. I think the audience was aware.
That's the argument Dershowitz
we did not
made
get
yesterday.
a single call. We did not get a single call from a Democrat being like, I was fooled. We asked for it yesterday. Now, maybe that's just because this is our show. We don't have a ton of left-wing lunatics listening. But I don't think anybody was fooled by this. And Clay, here's also why I think this isn't coming clean. This is cleanup. Okay, this is an op from Tapper and the whole rest of the bunch because they've completely lit their whatever credibility they had. And I don't mean credibility even in being non-objective. I mean credibility as being not morons.
So yeah,
completely lit on.
I guess that goes to the question because I have maybe more faith in America and media. Who is the audience? Like, who is the person that is like, you know what? I've got to, I like, how is your brain so broken? And clearly the audience is collapsing.
I can tell you who the audience is. Everybody, and also I think part of this is I've known how Tapper operates and CNN and these people operate for 15 years now, so I've seen the maneuvering. This is meant to be the okay, we've dealt with this. Now we're back to being journalists, everybody. But that's not what's going on because they're not naming the sources in the book. They're not naming who did the lying. It's all Biden, who matters not one bit to anyone anymore, okay? Nobody cares. So there's no price that's being paid by a single Democrat who, isn't Joe Biden. And we all know Joe Biden is in a rough spot right now for other reasons. But I would just say this. The whole game was defeating Trump, was defeating Hitler. So if they all have to go around and pretend the emperor's walking around with clothing on, that's what they did. I refuse to believe they didn't know. I refuse to believe that they didn't know. Like, Clay, do you really think anybody with an IQ over 80 didn't realize that Joe Biden was? How is that possible?
I think a lot of people did. I think this is sad, but I think they trusted Rachel Maddow. I think they trusted Joe Scarborough, and I just believe in markets. And if you're lied to long enough, I think that the audience leaves. And actually, the data is reflecting that is occurring. Because Fox News,
think they're upset because they said they would defeat Trump. I think they're upset because of what happened. Do you think any of them would care at all, Clay, if Biden had stayed in and won, if they didn't have the debate? Is this conversation happening at all?
Well, I think that's why I would have brought Jake Tapper on, because I would ask him that question. Would you have written this book if Biden had won the election? I think the answer
if you want to have, I leave this to you. If you want to have him on, we can invite him on.
I don't think he'll come on because I think Megyn Kelly filleted him to such an extent. But so big picture, Fox News is now beating MSNBC and CNN combined 2-1. Never occurred. It's never occurred. 66% of television viewership is Fox News. 33% combined, roughly, is CNN and MSNBC. Now, maybe part of that is people are upset because Kamala lost, but I think a lot of people have realized they were being lied to. Now, here's the scary thing. For like Washington Post, their actually entire business model now, if Jeff Bezos cared, is to lie, because if they don't, people cut subscriptions.
I think these people want to be lied to, and I think they knew they were being lied to. That's what's so, at some level in a cult, man, this is what happens, where people are like, no, let's just pretend that this guy is the deity. Like, I know it's crazy, but let's just keep rolling. We've pulled in a lot of money. We got a lot of new recruits. Let's keep this going. Let's keep this going. We'll come back here in a second. Looking out for the lives of unborn children is preborn's highest priority. Their second highest priority is the pregnant mother of that child. Last year alone, preborn made it possible for tens of thousands of unborn children to realize life. They do this by welcoming that pregnant mom into their clinic and giving her a free ultrasound. Because once that connection between mother and child is made, it is so much easier, so much more clear for that mom to see that the path to life is the best path for her. They accomplish this with just that $28 ultrasound expense. You and I can donate $28 today, knowing it will go toward helping to save a tiny baby's life. To donate securely, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say baby. Some of you listening know that this is also 100% tax deductible, and you can donate $500. You can donate $1,000. Whatever size donation you can make, it will go right to this incredible mission of saving tiny babies in the womb and bringing them into this world. Go to preborn.com/buck if you want to donate online. That's preborn.com/buck, sponsored by Preborn.